Hello, wonderful people, and welcome back to a very special episode of Busy Beader. If this is your first time here with us, my name is Caitlin, and today we are going to be celebrating all things Taylor Swift. And I'm going to be teaching you all how to make 3 different kinds of friendship bracelets, ranging from really pretty easy to fairly complicated, and then one in the middle there as well. So today's video is going to be a little bit longer than they normally are, but I think it's worth it. You can kind of skip around to the bracelet that you like, or you can watch all of them and let me know which one's your favorite. I would love to get your feedback, but I am just so excited to be able to do this craft with you all today. I have loved Taylor Swift since I was just a little girl, and I was incredibly lucky to get tickets to the tour when it was in Colorado. And so my mom and I went. Here are pictures of us. I made my jacket and we went and we just had a really amazing time. And I made bracelets before I went to the concert and had so much fun getting to trade them with other people. And I know that it has kind of spread to other artists and other venues, and you can really do anything that you like with this. If you're like, I want to make some friendship bracelets, but I don't really care about Taylor Swift, you can definitely still use the techniques that I teach you in this video to do that, or for another artist, or if you're a Swiftie like I am, then you can make your own Taylor Swift themed bracelets, either to trade with other people or just for you, because it's fun to make stuff for yourself sometimes too. But before we get started on all of the Taylor Swift fun today, please be sure to check out my sponsor, Fire Mountain Gems and Beads. They supplied all of the amazing, super fun beads that I'm going to use today and all of my tools, and they can be your supplier too. So be sure to check out their website. Link is in the description box below, as well as a link to my website. And as always, please be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. I would love to hear what your favorite Taylor Swift album, song, if you got to go to the tours, share with me in the comments. Love building a Swiftie community and a crafting community, so please be sure to do that. Okay, I can hardly wait anymore, so let's jump into our bracelets today. Step 1. All right, today you're going to need quite a few materials, but most of them pretty fun. For the basics, you're going to need a set of clippers and some E6000 to secure your knots. Then you are, of course, going to need some power cord. This is a clear, stretchy beading cord, and I chose 0.8. You could go smaller than that. That might be beneficial if some of your beads are smaller, but this should suffice for us today. And then I also really recommend that you get some wide-eyed needles, or you can also use purling needles or regular needles, but kind of like when we purl, having a needle just makes everything so much easier, so really recommend having these. And then our fun stuff, you are going to need lettered beads, and I kind of put a variety out in our projects today so that you can see. You can do square beads or flat round beads. You can do, silver or color. We have white and black, all kinds of different options. And then any kind of fun beads that you're going to use here, like this moon. Then you are going to need filler beads. So you can use beads like this, these little round ones. We're going to be using those on our Screaming Color project. Or you can use beads like these little flat guys are great filler beads. Or another popular option for bracelets like this is seed beads, and we're going to be using seed beads on our Sunshine Midnight Rain bracelet as well here. So gather all of your supplies, get everything ready, and then meet me back here and we'll get started. Step 2. To start our very first bracelet, the first thing that we have to do is get our cord. So you're going to grab your power cord here, and for this bracelet, since we're not doubling up, you only need about a foot of power cord. That should be plenty. And go ahead and clip it. And then we are going to take a needle. So what we're going to do is open this guy up, and we're going to put our cord through. And we don't need to go very far because we aren't going to double up this simple bracelet here. Step 3. But now the first thing that we're going to do is put our beads on in this order, and then we will build around the beads. But to start with, we want to make sure to get this on, and then we can size from there. So I am just going to go along my line here and pick up beads. and let them go onto the string, but you can use a bead stop or you can put a bead on the end as a bead stop if you'd like. I'm just gonna watch the end here and leave it loose, but if you're not as confident, please feel free to tape it down or use a bead stop, whatever makes you feel comfortable, because otherwise your beads will go flying off the other end if you're not careful. So just take your time with it and string your beads along. So I'm going to speed this part up since you get the idea of what it looks like. So enjoy some music and I will show you how to finish this bracelet in a second. Okay, now that we have our saying on there, I'm just gonna give it a quick look, make sure I didn't mix up any letters, get anything backwards, and it's looking good. So now we just need to complete the outside of our bracelet. So something I like to do is take a bracelet that already fits me and use that as a guide. So with this bracelet that I know already fits pretty well, this is actually a bracelet that somebody traded with me for at the concert. I'm just gonna take this and just give it a little look-see, and it looks like I need, about 2 inches, a little over 2 inches of beads. So what I'm going to do is place other beads around the outside. Since our quote is love you to the moon and to Saturn, I think that I'm just gonna do black beads all around it. That way it kind of gives the illusion of space. So what I'm gonna do here is take these black seed beads and start stringing them on. And I like to do this in a dish because I feel like it's easy to go through and pick up seed beads in a fairly quick manner, but however you feel like works best for you and your beading journey, absolutely go for it. And I'm just gonna pick these up the same way I did our lettered beads and push them onto the bracelet. And I'm going to do that until I get to a length that I like. And again, be sure to either watch your end or have a bead stop. So once again, enjoy some music and bead with me, and then I will show you how to tie it off and glue it. All right, now that I have all of the beads that I need on here, I'm just gonna take this other end, and I'm not gonna switch the needle since I'm only gonna put 1 or 2 of these seed beads on the end. I just don't want our knot to be directly next to the words. I want it to be a little bit more invisible than that, so just a couple there. Step 4. And now it's time to knot and finish. So what you're gonna do, you could either just tie a box knot and glue it, but I like to do things that are a little bit more secure. So we're gonna go back through this other bead here and pull, and you might have to finagle it through here. And now, as you can see, the bracelet is nice and tight. And now I'm gonna bring this string around the bracelet here and pull it through to tie a knot. And I'm just gonna make sure that that lands beside the bead that we've already got there. And just finagling carefully and making sure that everything stays tight. And we're just gonna pull that knot there. And then we need to do that on the other side as well. So we're gonna go around, and then since I have the needle on it, I'm just gonna go back through this direction. And now that we have our loop, I'm gonna go back through it one more time to create the knot. Very good on this other side of this bead here, and pulling that knot tight as well. And then at this point, you can go ahead and remove your needle. And now we are going to glue. So we're gonna glue our knots with some E6000 here, and something that I like to do is grab a spare piece of metal from a different project, or you could use a paper clip, whatever, but we're just gonna use that to pull a little bit of glue out of the E6000, and then we're going to coat those knots. It's okay if it travels up the cord a little bit because we're gonna cut that part off, so it doesn't have to look very pretty there. Just needs to be secure and look okay at the site of the bead. So we're just going to do that one more time for this other knot here. And now you are going to leave this aside to dry. It's best to leave them for a full day so that the glue can really dry around those knots. But if you're making these on the short term, you can just leave it sitting for an hour, but it doesn't start to take maximum hold effect until that 24-hour mark. So that gives you plenty of other time to make bracelets, and then you can just come back the next day and clip them off. But I'm going to show you what this looks like all finished now. And there you have it, all complete and dry and beautiful. Step 2. All right, and for our second bracelet here, the one that's a little bit harder than the last one we did, the first thing that we need to do is get our power cord. So you're going to grab your power cord and you're going to get about 2 feet of it because we are going to be doubled up on our power cord for this bracelet. So you want to have plenty here. So once you get 2 feet, go ahead and clip it. And for this, we are going to start by taking one bead, any bead, it doesn't matter here, and you're going to slip that through and let that fall to the middle point here. Now you can use your needle if you'd like. If you want to put 2 needles, one on each side, you could do that, or you can do it without the needle. These beads are bigger, so I'll leave that up to you. I will probably alternate between using it and not using it for this project. But now we are going to take both of our ends, and at this point, our bracelet is going to be 1. So what I'm going to do here is actually use my needle for this part. So I'm going to take both of my ends and thread them through the needle here. Step 3. And now we need to pick up some beads. So for the part that is attached to Screaming and is going to go around the wrist, the back part of it, I'm going to do black and white. And then the part that will separate off and say color is going to have these bright colors on them. So first that I'm going to do here is grab these, and I'm just going to put them on at random. If you wanted to go every other one, you absolutely could, but you know, just pick up random beads is fine too. And meet me back here when you have a couple of inches worth of beads. All right, and now we want to put our words on, but first we kind of want to hide the thread as best we can. So I'm just going to go ahead and put on 2 or 3 of these little beads here and let those fall to where our thread creates that fork. And now we are going to thread our letters through onto our string. So I'm just going to take a couple at a time here and let that fall there. And then take the rest of our word. Just make sure that nothing's backwards. I have dyslexia, so sometimes I will get finished with a bracelet that has words on it and be like, wow, none of those are in the right order. So it's good to check yourself halfway through. And now we want it to match on both sides. So I'm going to go ahead and put 3 more of these colors on these black and white beads on the other side as well, so that we're even on both sides. And let those fall. Now we have to do our part that says color. So we are going to take our needle off of one side, and if you are using a needle, you're going to go ahead and thread it onto the other. If you're not, you're just going to grab this side of the string and put your needle on it. I love these wide-eyed needles. They're very easy to thread and use. Highly recommend them. All right, and now since the word color is much, much shorter than the word Screaming, we are going to need to put more of these little colored beads on it. So as you can see, I'm kind of lining it up here as best I can to see how many of these colored beads we're going to need to get to the word color. So I'm going to go ahead and start threading some of these on. And I'm just going to go make sure to get every single color. I'm not going in a particular order. I just want to make sure that all of them are there. There's a couple anyway, and we're going to slide those down and see how many more we're going to need to get it to line up. And it doesn't have to line up perfectly, but we'd like it to be, you know, as symmetrical as possible. That way the thread sits right. And I'm thinking I'm gonna put one more on, and we don't have yellow yet, so I'm gonna put a yellow bead on. Let's see, you. All right, and now we can start threading the word color on. So I'm just gonna go ahead and go through our letters here, letter block beads, and slide that through. Okay, and now you can always pick up the one side and push and just kind of check and see how everybody's lining up okay. So we're gonna start by putting 7 beads on, but then we're gonna eyeball it and make sure that that, works out okay. Because it, theoretically should, but we want it to look pretty, and if, it needs an extra bead to look a little bit better, then that's totally fine. And we're gonna push those beads down and check on spacing. And it looks like my spacing worked out the way that I wanted it to. So now we are going to grab the other end of this thread here and put that through the needle as well, so that both ends, you're using both ends again. Now, we have 2 options. If we want it to be symmetrical, we can finish it off by being in the black and white, or if you wanted it to be like, color took over, then you could do color on the rest of the way, or you could do both. I think I'm going to do black and white all the way across. So looks like I have 17 beads in black and white over here. So I'm gonna put 17 more on the other side. Since all the symmetry has worked out for us today, we're just gonna keep rolling with it. But don't feel like you have to count your beads. You can just put beads on and eyeball it. That's totally fine. These bracelets are supposed to be made from the heart, they're not supposed to be perfect. It's just something fun to do and give to other people or keep for yourself, whatever makes you happy with it. And sometimes when you have the cord is technically quadrupled here, there are 4, so sometimes the beads don't like that very much and they don't want to go on. Just be careful and consistent. Apply gentle but easy pressure is the best way to handle that. And I see this little gap right here. I'm going to show you how to fix that in the end. We're not quite done putting beads on yet, so we're going to keep going here. All right, once you have all of your beads there, you can go ahead and we're gonna grab one of the strings here and just give it a pull, and it was the right one. If it's not the right one, you'll find out pretty quickly, and then you grab the other one and pull. But we're just gonna pull and make sure that that all looks good, and it does. So now we have to make it a bracelet. So you're going to take your needle end, and we are going to go back through this stop bead that we had here on the end. This is going to be our knot bead. So you're going to take your cords through that bead again. Step 4. And as you can see, there is a little bit of thread here because of the way that we used the stop bead. And I'm just going to take my cords and keeping them tight, I'm going to go through that section right there. Okay, once you have those cords all the way through, you're not gonna pull tight quite yet. You're gonna pull it close to tight. So I'm just working those threads through. And then I'm going to go through the loop that I made so that it turns into a knot. And at this point, before I pull tight, I'm just gonna make sure that the tension on my bracelet is good, and it looks like it is. So I'm going to go ahead and pull these through to make my knot. I chose to use the same kind of stop bead as was on the rest of my bracelet to give it a more seamless look, but lots of people will choose a cool or special bead to be the stop bead, and that also works really well as well. Now, if you want, this is a great place to stop and glue because that knot is right there, but this bead is kind of bucking out just a little bit, and I don't love that. It's not the end of the world, but it's not my favorite. So I'm actually just gonna go through this bead right here that it's right next to and pull through. And this is one of those that it's pretty tight, so just be gentle, that gentle even pressure to get through. That way you don't accidentally snap your cord. And we're gonna pull that through, and it looks like one of my There we go. And now see that that pulled it back, and now it's not bucking as quite as much there. And at this point, I'm just gonna tie another knot. I know, another knot, but I like my bracelets to be super secure. I hate when I'm wearing them and they bust open. So I'm just gonna go around and make that loop like we did on the easy bracelet. And then we're gonna go through the loop one time and pull and make sure that it lands where it should in between the beads, and give that a pull. And now it's time for glue. So just like our last bracelet, we are going to put some E6000 on both of our knots so that we're super secure. Taking my little piece of scrap metal here and getting some glue. And then just gonna find those knots and coat them in glue. Perfect. Now I'm going to leave this to dry for a full 24 hours before I cut the strings off. Then once I do that, it will look like this. And there it is, all finished. How much fun with the transition between the black and white and the color. Ah, love this one. And now on to a design that I am super excited about. Step 2. The very first thing we're going to do for this bracelet is get some power cord. So you're going to grab your power cord, and since we are going to be doubling up this bracelet, you are going to want 2 feet of this power cord. And now with our cord, we are going to do what we did on the last one. We are going to put a stop bead on. So I'm just going to take one of these little orange guys here because we're going to be starting with sunshine. So the first half of it is going to be our bright colors. And we're going to find the middle with our bead here. Before we get rolling on our bracelet here, our stop bead, we need to secure it because our design is kind of going to weave around itself. So I'm just going to take one of my strings here and go back through the opposite direction that it's coming out. Doesn't have to be perfect or exact, but just try and make sure that your stop bead stays in the center of your strings. So I'm holding that fairly firmly here and got a little twisty. So I'm just going to double check that we are all good. And now we're good to go. Step 3, my bottom string. So if it's sitting like this, I'm going to take this needle here and we are going to put just a couple of these other random beads on the end. That way we create a little transition. So I'm just gonna go 1, 2, and then I'm gonna stick one of these little raindrop shaped guys on. And now we're just gonna let these beads fall down to the stop bead here. And now we're gonna put our word on. So we are going to thread sunshine through here. And then we are just going to put a couple more beads on this other side here to give it that transition point again on the word. And now we are going to take our top thread here and we are going to thread enough beads to reach the eye in sunshine. So I'm going to do this yellow-orange combination here and just go ahead and thread enough beads to get to that point. And remember, you're using your stop bead as the center point. Okay, now that we have reached this point, we are going to start our transition. So what you're going to do is take this top needle here and thread, and we are going to go through the eye bead in sunshine, but only through the eye bead. We're not going to go through anything else. So we're just going to pull that and it's going to bounce like that. So now they have switched. Now the top thread is the bottom thread. and the bottom thread is the top. So make sure to keep a good hold on that as we move forward with our bracelet. And now we are going to put Midnight Rain on the bottom. So just like the other side, I'm going to do a couple of transition beads here. So I'm going to do these blacks and this little blue raindrop shaped guy that I'm excited about. And we're going to let those slide down to the bottom. And now we are going to put on our Midnight Rain. So go ahead and put on all of the word midnight here. And then we want a little gap between rain because midnight and rain are two different words. So I'm actually just going to go black, a little bead that looks like a raindrop, and then black again, and then go through the word rain as well. All right, now that we have our Midnight Rain on here, we are going to take our top thread and we are going to start transitioning bead colors until we get to the G in Midnight. So I'm gonna put a couple more of these. I'm gonna put a yellow and an orange, two oranges, and then I'm gonna thread on a black and a blue, and then I'm gonna put one more orange on, and then we're gonna go back to black, and then we're gonna do our little iridescent color here, and then blue. Now let's slide those down and see how that transition looks. See if I feel like I need more of the yellow, and I don't think I do. I like that transition, and we're almost to the G. So I'm gonna do a couple more. We're gonna go black and iridescent and one of these blue guys, and slide that down. And then, just like we did with the I in Sunshine, we are going to go through the G in Midnight and only the G. So we're gonna take our thread and pull that through. And then our threads have now switched again. So our top thread is now our bottom thread, and the bottom thread, our top thread. I know I'm repeating that a lot, but it's important to keep them straight in your head. Otherwise it starts to get a little jumbly and weird. And now we are just going to add a couple of beads after rain so that it can transition okay. So we're just gonna do a couple here. We're gonna go black and iridescent and a little blue one. Let's see, that guy. And we'll do one more black there. And we're gonna let those sit down by rain. And now we're going to take our bottom thread and we're gonna do the part that's gonna hang out underneath the word rain. And we wanna get to, we're gonna say this black bead here at the end. So I really want to make this part really emphasize the little blue beads since they look like raindrops. So I am gonna go almost every other. So I'm gonna go black, iridescent, and then a blue. And then I'm gonna go, maybe let's do two blacks this time. Go black, black, and a blue, black. And you're just gonna continue this kind of 2-to-1 pattern here until you reach the end of the word rain. Okay, and now that we have reached that spot, we can go ahead and go back through this last bead here in the row like this. And we're just gonna pull that through. And then we are going to check our tightness. So I'm gonna place my finger on this bead where it all comes together and grab both of my strings and just gently tug to make sure that it all looks okay there, and I think it does. So we don't need to add a ton of beads, but I do want to create a little bit of a transition in between the black and the yellow. So I'm going to take an iridescent and a black, and then I'm going to put one of these yellows on, and then we're going to do, oh, let's say a blue, and then we're going to put a yellow on, and then we're going to go back to do orange and one more orange there. And now we're going to push those down. And we also need our other string to go back through as well. So you could have combined them and put them back onto one needle, or you can just go through them both again, whatever is easier for you. But we want our string coming out together on that side. So we're just gonna gently pull. All right, and make sure that your strings go through evenly. There we go. Checking the tightness one more time. Now, if you haven't already, go ahead and take one needle off and put both strings through a single needle. And now it's time to finish. So we're gonna come back onto this other side and find our stop bead, which is right there. And we are going to go back through that stop bead one more time. So wiggle your way in between the beads here and gently pull and bring that up and around. And now we are going to do what we did on our other bracelet to tie a knot. So you're going to find where the string goes around the stop bead here, and you're going to slip your needle through that point and through and pull it to where it's almost tight. I tend to stick my finger there so that it can't pull tight. And we have come a little loose here. So holding, I'm just going to give the string a tug, and it'll get tight around your finger, and that's okay because we just want to check on the tautness of our bracelet. And then we're going to go back through that hoop here, and I just used my finger as the point. And now we're going to slide that off of my finger. There we go, and pull tight. There we go. There is one knot. Now, like we did before, I don't like those knots to sit out and be out in the open, so we are going to go back through the bead right next to it so that it goes back in line for us and create one more knot. So we're gonna go around our beads and make a knot. So we're gonna make that line up where we want it to. And you can use pliers as well if you don't wanna use your fingers. My fingers are just convenient because they're already in the middle of your beading. But we are going to come to where it's almost tight and then go back through those loops one more time to actually create the knot, because the loop around is not secure. That's just a loop around, and we want a knot. So we're gonna make that knot and slide it down, give it gentle tugs, and now it's time for glue. Now, just like all of our other bracelets, we're going to take our little bit of wire and dip it in the glue. And we are going to take that glue and we are going to cover both knots here. So we're gonna cover that knot that's coming out right there. It looks like it needs just another little tug here. And we are going to cover our first knot as well, which is actually slipped in between this bead. So I'm just gonna open those beads up and get some glue down in there between those beads. And now I'm going to leave it to dry for 24 hours. And then once 24 hours comes, I'm gonna clip off the edges and it's gonna look like this. And you are all finished with this interwoven kind of bracelet here with this really cool design. I hope you had a lot of fun getting to make this with me. If you make your transitions shorter, it'll be a tighter weave or bigger than a longer weave. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this today. And there you have it. We went on a little journey today, started with an easy bracelet, then went to a little bit harder of a one, and then one that was like a little bit harder than the middle one, but none of them crazy complicated, none of them accomplishable. So I hope you had so much fun going on this little journey with me today, and that you got to make some really cool bracelets of your own. I would love to hear from you in the comments what you thought of this video, the longer format, doing Taylor Swift theme, really anything. You can just pop in and say, hey, love to hear from you. So please be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And please be sure to check out my sponsor, Fire Mountain Gems and Beads. They've got everything that you could ever want to make any kind of friendship bracelet that your heart desires. So be sure to check them out. I hope that you are having a fabulous year and enjoying your favorite musical artists, and I will see you in the next one.